Hi all, it's Organise and welcome to my channel. Welcome to the first episode of my Expat Live playlist. Today I'm live on stage in the Studio BCN with my good friend Jamie. And Jamie and I will be talking about how to set up a gym in Barcelona, and if it can be applied to other places, you can also use it in other places in Spain. And without further ado, we'll be going straight over to Jamie. How are you doing today?
Very good, thank you. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you. So Jamie, could you introduce yourself to the audience, please?
Sure. So my name is Jamie Shimonik. I'm originally from the UK. I used to be an accountant, and 5 years ago I kind of gave up my job, qualified as a personal trainer, and moved to Barcelona.
Why did you choose to become a personal trainer?
It was mainly for my own benefit. I did the course to discover the body. The body is an amazing piece of machinery, and essentially it was just to learn for myself. And as I did the course and got pretty good marks, I decided to move to Barcelona. I set up in a park, just training one person at a time, and then it grew from there.
Where did you do the course?
I did it in the European Institute of Fitness, which is in close to Birmingham in the UK. It was a 3-month course. You study at home for 3 months and then you go and stay in the premises. I think it was for 6 weeks. It was 14 hours a day. It was pretty intense. 7 hours or 8 hours in the morning, classroom based, and then the rest physical and practical.
And that was also focusing on TRX, or was it just general knowledge?
A little bit, yes. It was mainly general knowledge of the body, how the body works, how the muscles, the skeleton system works, how the brain works, and a small part of it was TRX. From there I fell in love with TRX. It's such a great piece of equipment. I decided to bring one to Barcelona, and yeah, now I have a studio with 10 of them in.
And why did you choose TRX?
Mainly because it's so versatile. Essentially, if you don't know what a TRX does, you can do anything you do in a gym with equipment, but without the equipment, and essentially you're just using your own body weight. You can make it, instead of making it more difficult in a gym, you would add on weights, for example. With the TRX, you adjust your angle that you're training at to give you more weight. It's also really flexible. You can use it for rehabilitation, but also use it for strength building, and also it just curls up into a bag about ½ kilo in weight. You can take it on holiday, you can take it to your office, you can take it to your hotel room, and you can train pretty much anywhere in the world without the gym.
So you only need those TRX ropes, or how they're called?
Yeah, TRX straps, or that's the official brand name. There are a lot more cheaper ones on the market, otherwise they're known as suspension trainers.
Why did you move to Barcelona?
I came here on holiday and decided to stay. I was here coming for 2 weeks. I came with a suitcase and about 500 euros, and ended up falling in love with the place and ended up staying.
Yeah, I think many people feel the same.
Many people do, and a lot of my clients, they're not locals, they're foreigners, and yeah, I hear all the time. Many people come to Barcelona to visit and never return.
Yeah, it was similar with me. Yeah. So when did you decide to open up your studio?
So I had been training in the park for about 3 years. All my clients came to me in the park. It used to be obviously cold and wet in the winter, and in the summer here, it can reach 40 degrees. So the winter and the middle of the summer were pretty horrific times being in the park. So after 3 years, me and my now ex-partner decided, it would be good. We had enough clients to open the studio. It was a little bit bigger than I wanted. We'd searched for 6 months for premises. Finally finding one right in front of my apartment, and the refurbishment started, and we opened about 6-7 months later.
And working out in the park was a problem, except for the weather?
It was dirty and dusty as well. We'd also have bag thieves and things like that to contend with, so it wasn't as easy as it sounds, no. Also, people don't like the rain here, so you have to check the weather forecast every day. And we also had problems with the police being in the park for sometimes 6 or 7 hours a day. Drew us a bit of attention, unwanted attention, and so many times the police moved us on or told us we can, run a business from the park. And so that was the other reason why to get a studio. So
technically speaking, working out outside is not allowed, or working out specifically in parks wasn't allowed?
So it was commercialization, so running a commercial business from a public park is not allowed. So I think if you do it once or twice, different spaces, the problem with the parks here is not many good trees to hang a TRX off, and so I was in the same spot all the time, which drew the attention.
So when you finally decided to open up your studio, what were the the different steps that you had to go through?
So the first one was finding a property. The second one was looking at all the rules and regulations around having a license for what you do. So for my case, it would have been a gym license. And the third one is making sure you're set up for autonomo, being self-employed. I didn't do them necessarily in that order. I found the property first and then had to kind of rearrange the rules to fit into the property. For example, being classed as a gym, you need to change your rooms and showers and female-male toilets plus a disabled toilet. Because the space of the studio didn't allow that, we had to class it as a yoga studio. Again, just kind of bending the rules a little bit. Which means we didn't need a changing area, we didn't need bathrooms, we have just one unisex toilet here and we didn't need a disabled toilet either. The property is up 10 flights of stairs, so disabled access would have been very expensive to put in, and we only had the lease for a short amount of time, so yeah, it wouldn't have been worth the investment, unfortunately.
How many documents did you need to hand in, sign?
Loads. Maybe over 20 pieces of paper. We had to do technical drawings of the building for the City Hall to approve the license. We had to do fire forms, fire safety forms. They get then viewed by an external company which come in and make sure everything's okay. The autonomo forms, the self-employment forms as well, it's pages and pages of paper. But I had a good team around me, one architect, a health and safety person, and a good accountant. Essentially those three things? Yeah.
Okay, so does it take long to get all these documents and then get it signed, or maybe even the appointments?
No, I mean, it depends on how long and how complex the project is, I suppose, but you need a good few months, especially for the license of the building. They might come back to you and say things have to be changed, or so yeah, I would leave a good few months. But once you have the appointment, you take the forms in. My lawyer had already done it for me, and it was a matter of getting the City Hall to stamp all the papers, and they gave me the license. So yeah.
With the exception of the accountant that you need to pay anyway, the architect and the fire safety person, would they need some extra payment as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Unfortunately, I had very good friends. They used to come to my classes outside anyway. One was a well-known architect. He designs hotels here in Barcelona. So he knew about the licensing as well, and the licensing regulations. And so he applied what he knew to a hotel to, this was his first gym he did for me.
Oh, that's practical.
So, yeah.
But you still needed to pay him, or the documents?
No, he did it for me as a gift, I suppose. I've been training him outdoors for 2 years, and so yeah, he wanted to help, and so yeah. But otherwise, yeah, I mean, it could have cost an extra, probably a couple of €1,000 for an architect.
So technically speaking, it does not have to be specifically like an interior architect or like an architect that is sent from the government themselves.
No,
it can be anyone.
It can be anyone. Essentially, what we need is architectural drawings, so they have to. Obviously, they go through university to do this. It's all quite technical, I suppose, done by computer. And so once you've got the map plan of the locale, you hand these into the City Hall.
And for the fire and safety, you had to get somebody from the fire department, or was it also?
No, again, this was just a list of requirements, i.e. how many fire extinguishers you need, where the fire exit sign should be over which door, and things like the toilet, if there should be a sign on the door, and things like this. So, but again, it's essentially a tick box exercise. You tick the boxes to say you've done it, or you've got them in place, and then you submit them to the City Hall.
And that will be after the architect?
Yes.
So yeah. The architect
they all actually come together. So,
but the architect could also just tell you, okay, because he knows that, okay, you have to get...
Absolutely, yeah. Okay. I mean, you have to be very careful as well. I mean, the City Hall could come around and say to you, actually, no, we can't give you a license. So, yeah, it's always good to maybe do all the plans beforehand. We kind of rushed and found the building first and the locale, and did it kind of back to front, which was a little bit more stressful.
100%. But apart from all these three things that you've mentioned, so the architect to check out the localities, and the technical or the fire security specs, and the autonomous status, or at least your license to actually work, there wasn't anything else that need mentioning?
No, that was it. No.
And how much patience would you need to bring on the table if you want to get legal forms sorted in Spain?
A huge amount. Again, having a good knowledge of Spanish, speaking, understanding Spanish. My Spanish is okay, but when you start talking about technical issues of a building, that's where it kind of comes down. So it's a learning curve like this with my Spanish. But once you know what you're doing, it's pretty straightforward. But there's no real guidebook or anything to show you how to do it, unfortunately.
The requirements that you just mentioned, would you know if they are equal everywhere in Spain?
I don't believe so, no. I mean, the Barcelona City Hall have their own requirements. There was some European legislation regarding disabled access and things like that. But unfortunately, it didn't apply for this building because it was so old. But yeah, I think the rules are quite different depending on the City Hall.
And it would also seem, depending on the building, some laws or regulations would also differ.
Absolutely.
Since this is quite an old building, it would have different regulations.
Absolutely, and we didn't need, for example, air conditioning because the building's so old and it didn't have it. Whereas a lot of new buildings, to equalise the moisture and things like this, you need to have air conditioning or an airflow system. But yeah, again, this was the benefit of not being classed as a gym and being a yoga studio instead. We didn't need these things. And this is where it takes a good architecture to kind of go around the rules. Some are quite ridiculous, some are not so ridiculous.
You mentioned that it took quite some time from the first day that you actually found the space all the way to the opening. How did you feel during this period?
Probably the most stressful time of my life. When we found the place, it hadn't been used for 15 years. The refurbishment, the builders had said that'd probably take about 6 to 7 weeks. And in fact, it took 6 to 7 months. So we found the place in, I think, the end of July, beginning of August, and we didn't open until the middle of February afterwards. All that time I had to pay the rent of the property. It's quite high rent being in Barcelona with no income. Well, doing my job actually with my personal training, kind of managing this on the side as well. It's still in the parks. But yeah, I didn't plan for all these obviously extra overheads.
Spoiler, you need to take some time and you need to be patient if you open up your business in Spain. Not only Barcelona.
And lots of money. Yeah.
How were you budget-wise?
We went 4 times over budget, mainly because of issues with legal stuff, so I had to pay the lawyer a lot more money. I had problems with the landlord, they kept increasing the rent. They increased it they agreed a discount while I was refurbishing it, and then that stopped because it took so long. And then the equipment, everything was a lot more than we had budgeted for. Fortunately 4 times afterwards. You also need a bucket or a cushion fund. We had our website hacked, so that had to be redesigned. It had to be rebuilt anyway, so that's another couple of grand, 1,000, which you kind of don't always budget for. And lots of little issues as well. But yeah, I would say you probably need, for a business this size, my bank told me you need like an overdraft or a cushion of 10,000 euros, which I didn't have. I had spent it all. So the first 2 years was very hard. I didn't break even until exactly 2 years afterwards.
And since you said that you went over budget, would you also recommend people to always either calculate more money in or?
Absolutely, and don't do it on your own. My probably mistake was being the trainer, being the studio manager, being the marketer, and a person doing the invoices as well, all in one, which made for a really stressful time. I would say to manage a business, a gym or a yoga studio, you need at least 2 or 3 people. 1 head of operations, 1 managing the place, the bookings, the clients, and then 1 person to manage or to do the training or the classes, for sure.
So did you have to pay for the refurbishment yourself, or did the owner cover for that?
It was half and half, so I would always suggest that you ask for a big discount if you're refurbishing a property, and make sure you're not paying the rent until after the refurbishment has finished. Unfortunately, I didn't even think it would be like this, so I didn't even think about putting this clause in the contract, which again cost me money. So the owner paid for things like painting the walls and the floor being put in because it was in a state of disrepair, but I paid the builders for their time to do it. So as we kind of agreed to split the cost.
So during this whole month of waiting and preparing and getting ready for the gym, what was the worst that happened to you?
I think it wasn't before we opened. I think it was after 2 months. My relationship with my partner finished, mainly due to the stress of everything going on, the delays, the over budget, and not being able to cope very well. It was my first studio, so it was a huge learning curve. Fortunately, we're still friends. But yeah, I would say the breakup of a relationship as you're going through kind of...
It was also your first business? Right?
Yeah, it was my first business. So before that, I used to work for big multinational companies in finance. And so it was my first time running a business, an actual property. But I think I took on a bit too much than I could chew. Dealing with, scheduling, having 5 employees at one point, made for quite a busy 2 years.
And you also had to be 5 persons at the same time.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And on the opposite, what was the best that happened to you? Or what was the best time that you had?
I guess reaching, I think we quickly in the first year we had trained up to over 2,000 people, and just looking at the numbers and going back and realising how actually successful it was, maybe not personally for me, but from the outside for clients looking in. And I guess building a brand in Barcelona that people recognise, and it's funny, I can walk down the street and someone say, "Oh, there's Jamie, the TRX guy." So I think, this is probably, to be acknowledged for...
Yeah, personal brand is good.
Yeah.
And Jamie, the TRX guy is definitely better than anything else.
Absolutely.
And as a final question, and it's also interesting, I think, for the audience to know, if you had the chance, what would you be doing differently in the future?
I would make sure that it wasn't just me doing it. I would make sure that there's someone specifically to look after the bookings and the clients and the running of the place, and for me to then concentrate on the training of clients and looking after people. I think that's very important to have a separation between what goes on in the background and what goes on in the foreground of the business. Being a one-man shop, doing it all was kind of tough.
I mean, it's good to have the full control over it.
Absolutely, yeah, you have full control, but even so, I don't think it's worth the stress and...
Plus the long working hours.
Oh, completely, it's 24/7, pretty much for the first
always the phone ringing, answering emails, working out, training people, answering emails.
Absolutely. And
it's stressful.
I suppose essentially you are the product, so if you're in a shop, they sell the product and that's kind of it. Whereas the product is me selling my services, so then you've got the admin behind that, marketing, the invoicing. It turns into quite a busy week. I think at one point I was working 80 hours a week, which, just to keep it going. It showed at the end of that year.
It's almost like an investment.
Oh, completely, Absolutely.
Well, that was some great advice. Thank you for that, Jamie.
Pleasure.
I will make sure that I will put the information in the descriptions below, as well as the link to Jamie's YouTube channel and the link to Jamie's website. And if you're interested in opening up a gym or a yoga studio in Barcelona, you can always feel free to get in touch with Jamie. He will be also advising you and giving you some information. And as you also heard from the interview right now, you need to have some information and some proper planning. If you like what you saw today, smash the like button for the algorithm, share it with your family and friends, subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to hit that bell to be notified whenever I come up with some new videos, and also leave a comment. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you soon.
Ciao.